True or false value is what I will call it as the logical data types. Only the authorized users, if they give the credentials, data abstraction. This can be asked for 5 marks. What exactly the meaning of integrity? Tools. You will have the tools to retrieve the data. Level of abstraction is little higher. What is the meaning of system analysis? Hello everyone, hi, welcome all of you to the second session on database concepts. So guys, what is that I have discussed in the last class? Can you just recollect it before I start this session? Suppose if you have forgotten, I will just give you a small recap for all of you and then I'll start this session. So guys, what is that I have discussed in the last session? So we understood something called what is database. What is that we have understood? So we understood what is database. So what is database? Database is a collection of related data. What is that? Database is a collection of logically related data. So that is what we have discussed with the concept of database. Then after that, what is the next thing that we started discussing? We also discussed, so guys, where exactly we use the concept of database. So that is what I will call it as a applications of database. That is what I will call it as a applications of database. So fine, we understood, like, we will be using it in the hospital, right? We will be using it in the hospital, we use it in the railway, we use it in the airways, we also use it in the, come on, tell me, where exactly we use it? We also use it in the bank. So all these things are the applications, and also along with this, we had a big, huge list. So you should be able to write the application where exactly you will be using the database. So fine. After that, what did we discuss? We also discussed something called origin of data. Something called origin of data. Guys, so in this, we discussed something called what is data, and we discussed what is information. So guys, data in the sense what? It is a raw fact. Data in the sense what? It is a raw fact, a processed data. Processed data is what I will call it as a processed data is what I will call it as a origin. So that's what you have to understand. So after this, we also discussed something called evolution. Something called evolution. So guys, in this we understood. So what is that? So manually, what is the drawback that we have? Suppose if I have the electronic computer to store the data, so what is the advantages that we have? So this is what I have discussed. So please go back and check the points. Manually, if I collect, so what is the time that I require? So do I have speed and accuracy? How much of manpower that I need? So what is the cost for the labor that I have to pay? All these points I have discussed with respect to the evolution of database. Then after that, very important thing that I discussed is, come on, everybody tell me the different terminologies or the terms that I should remember with respect to the database. So guys, along with that, I have also discussed data processing cycle. I have also discussed data processing cycle. So please remember all these things is what I have discussed in the previous session. So guys, so if you want, you can take a screenshot, or else no issues, just have a quick recap. So this is what I have discussed in the last session, right? So moving on to the next concept, what is that I have today? So guys, please understand data types of DBMS. In the programming language in C++, you have studied. So you have something called data types, right? You have something called data types. So how many data types you have? You have fundamental data type. Yes, you have fundamental data type. You have derived data type, and you have user defined data type. So guys, so in the same way, I have different data types in database. I have different data types in database. So that I will be discussing one by one. Same thing. So guys, I have integer. The whole number I will be, if I am able to store the whole number, so that's what I will call it as a integer. So double precision and single precision. So guys, floating point. So guys, this is what I will call it as a floating point. If I am able to represent more number of floating point, then I'll call it as a double precision. So guys, single and double precision. It's all about the decimal values that you represent. So what is this logical data type? True or false value is what I will call it as a logical data types here. If I'm able to represent or able to store true or false values in my table, first of all, what are you discussing, sir? Imagine, students, I have a table, right? I have a table. In this table, what type of values? This is tables, right? Serial number, name, age, phone number, guys. So here, what type of values you store? What type of values you store is what I am going to discuss. What are all the different data types that you have? So where you can store here is what I am trying to discuss. Please understand that. Fine. I have logical data type. Logical data type in the sense, like, if I'm able to, so this is integer 10, 20, 30, 40, that's what I will call it as an integer. So guys, 10.35, all these things is what I will call it as a decimal values, floating, single and double precisions. If you have more number of decimal values, I'll be using double precisions is what you need to understand. Logical in the sense true or false. Character, string, which I have already discussed. Single character, it can be a special character, it can be a digit, or it can be alphabets. So all those things, if you are using only one character, so you will be using the character data type. Suppose if you are using a group of characters, for this one character, right? So for this group of characters, if you are storing group of characters, you'll be able to use strings. What is memo data type? Memo in the sense what? Paragraph, right? If you are able to store the paragraph content here, so your data type should be memo data type is what you have to understand. What is the next one? You have index field. I have the data. For that I have to create one reference. So that I will call it as an index. So this index field is used to create the reference for the data that I have already. So that's what I'll call it as an index field. And currency fields in the sense, if you are entering 10,000, so it will be asking what type of currency, whether it is in a rupees or dollars or something like that, different currencies, whatever you want, you can represent it. So that will be with the help of currency fields, right? And then you have date fields and text fields. You can enter the data in the form of different date formats. So if you want to do that, so you will be using the date fields. If you want to enter the text, you will be entering with the text fields. This is all the different data types that you can use if you want to create your own table. So fine, after creating your own table, you can specify what type of value that you are going to enter with the help of these different data types. This different data types will allow you to enter multiple different data values. That's what you have to understand here. Moving on to the next one. DBMS is very interesting thing that you need to understand here. I had already informed you there is a difference between database. And DBMS. Please understand, database concept is different, DBMS is different. What exactly it is? I have the data, I am collecting the data from different multiple source and I am placing it in one place, then I will call that as a database. Imagine I have multiple different databases. I have multiple different databases. So database is just a place where you store the data. But where is the intelligence? To store the data, to retrieve the data, to process the data, to update the data, to modify the data? Where is the intelligence? Who will do that? So for that, I need a software. So that complete software will handle all the operations that I perform with respect to the database. Such software is what I will call it as a DBMS, that is Database Management System. ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರು ನಿಮ್ಮದು ಡೇಟಾಬೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀರ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ, ರಿಟ್ರೀವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ, ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ, ಮಾಡಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಡನ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅ DBMS. Please understand that. So database management system is a software that allows you to create, define and manipulation of database. Please understand that, right? And DBMS is a tool which is used to perform any kind of operations on data inside the database. DBMS also provides the protection and security to the database, is what you have to understand. A complete software which perform all the operations that you wanted to perform on the data. So that's what you have to understand. Point number 1, creation, modification, updation, deletion, everything, whatever you want. If you want to protect the data, if you want to give the security to the data, everything, whatever you wanted to do, so everything you can do it with the help of DBMS software. That's what you have to remember. Moving on to the next one. So features of database. Why do you use database? Why should I use the database? You should have some important points to be remembered if you are using the database. This I can also call it as the advantages of database. Guys, point number 1, redundancy can be minimized or it can be controlled. What is the meaning of it? Redundancy can be minimized in the sense the repetition of the data, whatever you are trying to store in the database or in the table, it can be controlled if you are using the database. What is the meaning of it, sir? Imagine I am writing my name, I am writing my details in the first page. I have forgotten that I have written all this information. Then after that some 2-3 people have written. Then again I will open the 10th page and I will write the same information, because book will not tell me that you have already written, sir, in the first page. The same data what I had written, I am writing it in the 10th page again. So this is what I will call it as a data repetition. This is what I will call it as a data repetition. How do I avoid this data repetition? So guys, if I am using a concept of database will not allow me to repeat the data whatever I have already stored. Please understand that. So that is the reason that you need to use database. What is data integrity? Data correctness. Whatever you are storing the data, that data should have some meaning and the data should be correct. So if you want to store the correct data, for example, I want to enter the data like, student details I am entering. So the student, those who have taken the admission for the PUC, so I am entering the date of birth. So if I enter the age, just imagine I am entering the age. If I enter the age 7 years, will it be a correct data? Can 7 years kid can come to the first PUC or the second PUC? No. If it is a book, then book will not tell me that data is not correct, that years will not match. So if I am using the concept of database, so it will not allow me to enter the value which is not correct. So how do you define, sir? I will discuss that. How exactly database will help me that 7 years is not valid? I'll come to that point in the next chapter. But if I am using the database, data integrity will be there. What exactly the meaning of integrity? Only the correct data it will allow me to enter. So that's a point that you need to understand. What is data sharing? Please understand, data sharing in the sense I can share the data between multiple people at the same time. Multiple people can access my data. I have stored the data in one single place, but multiple people can access it. For example, your result. You would have seen your result, SSLC result. Do you think that they have stored your result for you itself? Just imagine how many students are there. For everybody they can store a separate copy. No, they have one database and you people are able to access the same database from different places at the same time. So this is what we call it as a database sharing. Multiple people are getting access to the database at the same time for a single copy of data. for a single copy of data is what you have to remember. So this is one of the important point that I can call it as a data sharing. So only if you use the concept of database, you will be able to have this feature. So the next feature that I have, database security. Imagine I have the files. Imagine I have the files. I am not using the database at all. I'm using the files and I'm storing it in the room. I don't have the database. I will manually collect all the data in the form of files and I'm storing it in the storeroom. What happens if they come and break the lock? There is no security at all. Suppose if I am using the database, it provides me the security. Only the authorized users, if they give the credentials, only they can access my data. Otherwise, they cannot access my data. So that's what you have to understand. It has been protected. It has been protected from unauthorized access. So that is one of the advantage or the feature that I have if I use the database concepts. What is the next one that I have? Ease of application development. Please understand, ease of application development. The application programmer needs to develop the application. The application programmer needs to develop the application, and the development of this application is very, very easy in compared to all other tasks. So guys, according to the user needs, how exactly the user needs the database. For example, imagine I want a database where exactly I just need the information, how many students are there in the computer science and how many students are willing to come for the BCA. So what is their percentage? I just need only this. So according to my need, application designer can design the database for me. It is very simple. Designing according to the user need is very, very simple. So that is one of the advantage that I have. I don't need the complete information where exactly student is coming from, what is the phone number, what is the, I don't need anything else, what is the father name, I don't need anything else. I just need what is the percentage. So whether he is from CS background or not, and whether he is coming for BCA or not. Only this much I need. I'll ask the programmer will be able to design it according to my need. Who is I am here? I am the user. That's what you have to understand. Then what is the next one that I have? Multiple user interface. Multiple user interface. What is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of it? Please understand. If you open the system, guys, so whatever you are seeing in the monitor, so that is what I will call it as a interface. That is what I will call it as a interface. So that interface is different from one type of user to another type of user. For administrator, it is different interface. He will have a different options. So for a normal user, for an end user, it is a different interface. For a designer, for an application program developer, it is a different interface. So this is different from one user to another user. This is different from one user to another user is what you have to understand. So please understand this concept. It enhances or it enables you to use different interfaces. That is what you have to understand. So guys, moving on to the next one. It's a very important topic that all of you should understand. Data abstraction. This can be asked for 5 marks. This is a 5 marks question. So please listen to me carefully. If you just remember this diagram, that's more than enough. Everything you will be able to answer using this diagram. What is that? You will be able to explain all these things using this diagram. Data abstraction. What exactly this data abstraction is all about, guys? We have already discussed this topic in the object-oriented programming language. So guys, data abstraction, in the sense you are hiding the unwanted information from the user. You're hiding the unwanted information from the user. For example, if I take the calculator, you are performing the calculation. You know how to perform the calculation, but do you know what exactly is happening inside the calculator? No. Why should I know, sir? So that is what we call it as a data abstraction. You are hiding some of the information from the user. But when it comes to the database, how exactly we are hiding the information? How exactly we are hiding the data from the user? So in a different level is what we call it as a data abstraction. Please look at this diagram. It's very, very important. We have three different levels. We have three different levels. So please understand, the first one is what I will call it as an external schema. The first one is what I will call it as a external schema in the diagram. So external schema will have the different users. This level is only meant for the users. Users will be able to see the data. If I am able to see the data, this level is what I will call it as an external schema. External schema. So guys, I can also call this external schema as a view level. What is another name for the external schema? View level. So please understand that. What is the next level that I have? The next level that I have is conceptual schema. I can also call this conceptual schema as a logical level. What is another name for this conceptual schema? Logical level. Please understand that. Then what is the next one that I have? Physical level. Guys, what is the next one that I have? Physical level. So please understand, this is what I will call it as the physical database. Above this physical database, I will have the internal schema. Another name for the internal schema is physical schema. Got my point? So this is view. What is this? View. So guys, what is this? Logical level, and what is this? Physical level. So I have three different levels. I have how many different levels? Three different levels. So please remember that. I have three different levels. So I will be discussing these three different levels in detail individually. So please listen to me carefully. This is my database. This is my database. This is my database. So let me start with the first one. What is the first one that I have? Physical level. What is the physical level? So guys, this is what I will call it as a physical level. This internal schema is what I will call it as a physical level. Internal schema is what I will call it as a physical level. Internal schema is connected to the physical databases. Internal schema is connected to the physical database. What will I will get in the physical level? Let us understand one by one. Please understand, it is the lowest level of abstraction. Guys, let's go back and check whatever I have here. So guys, here my data will have the lowest level of abstraction. Database data hengirutte almost hangene irutte. Level of abstraction tumba kadime physical level alli. Point number one that you have to remember. What is the second point that I have? Physical level describes the complex level data structure in detail. Complex level data structure in detail agi physical level explain madutte. That is the second point that you should understand. What is that? Complex low level data structure. So data heng store agide annodana data structure anta karitivi. So that in detail physical level nimge explain madutte. I will repeat for all of you. Henge ನೀವು how you have stored the data in the physical level will be explained in detail is what you need to understand in the second point. What is the third point that you have? Please understand, it contains the definition of stored records. The definition of stored records. Yene data na you store madirtira, it contains the information and the definition about the stored records, and also the method of representing the data fields. It also gives you the methods to represent the data fields, and I will also have the aids to access. If I want to access the data, so physical level will have some of the aids, some of the tools to access the data. So this is the third important point that you should understand. One, the first point, low level abstraction. What is the first point? Low level abstraction. In the database hengirutte hangene almost sigutte. Second one, how exactly you have stored the data. That is what I will call it as the data structure. So in detail agi nimge aa information sigutte. Third one, what is the third point that you should remember? Please understand. So you will have the definition for the stored records. You will have the information about the stored records and also the method of representing the data. Henge ನೀವು data represent ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಆ information ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Along with that, tools, you will have the tools to retrieve the data, so to access the data. So this is all about the information with respect to the physical level. So what is the physical level? This internal schema is what I will call the physical level. This is the first level you can imagine. The second level, if I go to the conceptual level, what I will have in the conceptual level, let us understand. Conceptual level of abstraction is little higher when we compare to the physical level. Level of abstraction ಮೇಲ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಬ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಈ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗಿಂತ ಈ ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೈಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಸಿಕ್ಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So that is what you have to understand. So as and when if I move from here to here, my data will be hided. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. Here you will get the data in detail, but when you go up, so your data level, the level of abstraction will be reduced. So that is the first point that you should understand. So what is the next point that you have? So please understand, it contains the method of deriving the objects. It contains the method of deriving the objects in the conceptual view, from the objects in the internal view. Please understand this point, this is very interesting. So illi I have some of the methods which will help me to get the data from the internal schema. Illinda data na illik tagolodakke I have the objects or the methods. So that is the second point that you should remember. ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಡೇಟಾನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು? ಸೊ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. 2 points you should remember. Level of abstraction is more here than this, and also I will have some of the methods and objects to retrieve the data from internal schema to conceptual schema ashte. That is what you have to remember. Let's go to the last one, that is external schema. External schema dalli nodಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ different users ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. Users ನೋಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ what is the first point that you can expect? The level of abstraction will be more than the conceptual schema. ಮೇಲ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋಂಗೆನೆ level of abstraction ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Level of abstraction ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. That is what you have to understand. So guys, what is that I have? In the view level, the highest level of abstraction that describes only the part of the entire database. Complete database ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ, so only the part of the database will be retrieved. You will be able to access. That is the first point that you should understand. What is the second point that you have? So it also contains the method of deriving the objects in the external view from the objects in the conceptual view. Same point. So last again, brother sir, the same point. If you want to retrieve the data from conceptual schema, so I have the objects. I have the objects to retrieve the data from conceptual schema. That is what you have to remember. It is very simple. What is that you should remember? Level of abstraction ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಲೋ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. That is the 3 points. For all the 3 points you will finish off. So here you will have the information how exactly the data is physically stored. That is what we call it as a data structure. So adadmele, so you have here the level of abstraction is little higher than this, and then you have the object to retrieve the data from internal schema to conceptual schema. Adadmele illige hodre, so same thing. So please understand, you have the level of abstraction is more when you compare to conceptual schema, and you have the objects to retrieve the data from conceptual schema. Illinda illige tagolodakke you have the objects. That is what you have to remember. So guys, this is what we call it as a data abstraction. So data abstraction ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ? 3 ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು come on everybody, the second one conceptual, first one internal. 3 ಲೆವೆಲ್ ನ ನೀವು ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. You have to remember 3 different level. External level ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯೂಸರ್, conceptual level, internal level. So last one physical database, ನಿಮ್ದು physical database. That is what you have to remember. So this will be asked for 5 marks. ಈ diagram ಬರೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, so what is internal schema, conceptual schema, external schema, you have to explain with 2 to 3 points. That's more than enough. Moving on to the next point. So guys, different DBMS users. I have different types of users in the DBMS. So let us discuss one by one. So what is the first user that I have? So I have the first user type as end user. End user. So who I will call it as the end user? Please understand, database users are those who interact with the database. Please understand, in order to write the query and update and database generate the reports. If I want to write the query, if I want to update the database, if I want to generate the reports, then I will be called as end user. Naನೇನಾದರೂ ಕ್ವೇರಿನ ಬರೀಬೇಕು, ನಾನೇನಾದರೂ ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನಾನೇನಾದರೂ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ವಾಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಯೂಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ? ನನ್ನ ಎಂಡ್ ಯೂಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ನನ್ನ ಎಂಡ್ ಯೂಸರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಯೂಸರ್. ಸೊ ಈವನ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಫಾರ್ 5 marks. Mention the different types of users of DBMS. What is the first one? End user. If I am able to, come on everybody, if I am able to write the query, if I am able to update, or if I am able to generate the report, then I will be called as end user. I'll be called as end user. What is the next one that I have? System analyst. What is the next one that I have? System analyst. What is the meaning of system analyst? Please understand, system analyst determines the requirement of end user. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಎಂಡ್ ಯೂಸರು, ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡೆವಲಪಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಸ್ಕ್ರ್ಯಾಚ್. ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಎಂಡ್ ಯೂಸರ್, ನನಗೆ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಬೇಕು ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ಡೌನ್ ದ ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಹೌ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ದ ಎಂಡ್ ಯೂಸರ್ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. Based on the end user requirement, I will be developing the software. Yes or no? In the same way, who will collect the requirement? The guy who collects the requirement from the end user is what I will call it as a system analyst. Is what I will call it as a system analyst. What is the next one that I have? Application programmer. Application programmers. So guys, so whatever the software that you are using, so according to the need of the end users, which is given by the system analyst, the application programmer will develop the software. So fine, listen to me carefully. I will tell you the hierarchy now. I have my clients. Clients andre eno, from foreign they'll come. They want a software. So they will tell me the requirements. Why they will tell me the requirements? Because they will be using the software. According to their need, they will tell me the requirements. So I will write down all the requirements. Who I am now? I am the analyst. I will call it as a system analyst. So I will collect all the requirements from the client. Fine, I will collect all the requirements from the client. Then I will give it to the designer. Please look here. I have something called database designer. I will give it to the designer. So what designer will do? So designers are responsible for identifying the data to be stored. They will choose what type of data to be stored. All those designing. Now what structure they have to use. Please listen here. Database designers are responsible for identifying the data to be stored in the database. End user, they'll ask the requirement. I want this way. So system analyst, he will collect all the requirements. Designer will plan what type of data to be stored. So he is responsible of choosing the data type to be stored inside the database, and he will design. This is how the software should come. Then after the design, so design will go back to the application programmer. So whatever the data that we have collected from the analyst and the designer, so it will go to the programmer. So he will develop your software. That is what you have to remember. Once it is done, it goes to the database administrator. So who is database administrator? What is the role of database administrator? The complete privilege, complete rights will be with the database administrator. Please understand. Database administrator is a person. Who will have the complete control. Over both data and application. Some of the responsibilities of DBA, are authorized. Some of the responsibility of DBA is, please understand, authorization access. What is the meaning of authorization access? Suppose I have 10 different users. So I am the administrator. So I will decide whether they can access this file or not. That I have the option. I can decide whether I should give the access or not. That I will call it as the authorization access. Schema definition and modification. So guys, schema in the sense the structure of the table. So he will be able to create the table. So he can define the schema, how many columns should come, all those things. He can define that. He has got the privilege. And also he will have the new software installation. He has the privilege, he has the access, he has the rights to install the new software. So that is one more privilege a database administrator will have. So, and also he can enforce the security and administration. So guys, with respect to security, the database administrator will have the complete privilege. He can enhance. So in short, please understand, database administrator will have the complete rights. He can create the user, he can delete the user, he can give the rights to the user, he can remove the rights to the user to access the different content what we have in the database management system. And also if he wants, he can install the new software, he can remove the software, and also he can suggest the new schema in the sense, if I am creating the table, how many columns should come. So if I'm having a columns, what type of value that I can store, all these things he can decide. This person is what I will call as a database administrator, the complete privilege. So he will be having. That is what you have to understand with respect to the database administrator. Guys, the next important topic with respect to the 2 marks, this will be asked for 2 marks. It's very important topic. What is this? Data independence. What is this? Data independence. What exactly data independence? August 15th Independence Day celebrate ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಸರ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಡೇಟಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅದನ್ನ ಡೇಟಾ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನು ಡೇಟಾ ಸಿಕ್ತು ಅದನ್ನ ಡೇಟಾ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್. ಹೌದಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ನೀಟಾಗಿ. I have 2 different types of data independence. Please listen to me carefully. So guys, I'll come to this. Before that, let me discuss this. I have 2 independence: physical data independence and logical data independence. Please let us go back to the previous diagram and then let us understand. So we have how many independence? Physical data independence and logical data independence. This is physical level and this is logical level, right? So I have written P and L. So if I am able to do the modifications to the data whatever I have in the physical level without disturbing this, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ modification ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೂ I should not be able to disturb this. So then that I will call it as a physical data independence. Physical data independence. Listen to me carefully. If I am able to modify the data whatever I have in the logical level without disturbing the external level, that is view level, so that I will call it as a logical data independence. Sir, simple sir. I have ground floor ನಾನು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ physical level, first floor ನಾನು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ logical level, second floor ನಾನು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀನಿ view level. ground floor ನಾವು ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ first floor ಏನೋ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು ಸರ್. ಹಂಗಾದ್ರೆ physical data independence. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ ನಾವು ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಫ್ಲೋರ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು ಸರ್. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಅದು ಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಗೈಸ್, ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್ I have come to an end of this session. So I have tried giving the more important information in these topics. So by saying this, please take care of your health. Watch this session again and again. It's very, very important topics. So till then, take care. Bye bye.